So for anyone new to our channel, I'm Linda.
And I'm Troy, and we are Wines, Pines, and Canines. If you've watched a few of our videos, you know that our focus this year is boondocking more. We've got a huge trip coming up this summer. We're ecstatic to be getting out of the city and getting on the road, but all of it, as much as possible if we can, is going to be all mooch-docking and boondocking.
Now, up till now, our videos have been focusing on our battery and solar needs, and we think we finally have those worked out. That'll be an upcoming video, but this video is going to be all about those tanks. Our last few trips here in North Carolina, we have been focusing on the fresh, the black, and the gray, and that is today's video.
In this video, there are 4 things that we're going to focus on. Number 1, how long do these tanks truly last on their conservative but normal use?
The second thing we're looking at is how much water we can actually get in our freshwater tank. For that, we're going to use our new gadget, and it's going to help us with the third.
Number 3 is going to be all about how accurate are these monitors at determining how much fluid are actually in your holding tanks.
And the fourth thing we're looking at is, does both the bathroom sink and the bathroom shower actually flow into the gray tank? Heard chatter online that some people say no, some people say yes. So we're going to determine.
Yeah, and if the talk of holding tanks, if somehow on the outside chance it's not riveting enough, we're going to throw some video of our recent travels.
And if you would like to see more of these videos, please remember to
like and subscribe.
And Desi, always want you to hit that notification bell.
Today we are in Elkin, North Carolina at the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. We're headed out to go check out some wineries, and we're staying at Bird's Branch Campground, and the site we've chosen does not have sewer, so we're going to have to be real conservative about our water usage for the next 3 days.
So we'll let you know how that goes, but I also wanted to let you know one thing we looked at when we were here, when we first got here, and that was our plumbing setup. Now, I've heard from some other GeoPro owners that some of their plumbing actually goes into the black tank instead of the gray tank. So we turned on some faucets and checked the monitors, and all of our plumbing, except for that RV flush, does go into the gray tank. So we're going to have to be even more conservative now with that gray tank. So we'll let you know how that goes. But if any of you have a different setup, would love to hear it down in the comments.
Yeah. And we're also researching ways to conserve water while boondocking, so stay tuned and we're going to have some tips for you.
Okay, we are back from our 3 wineries, and we're going to have dinner soon and hopefully go for a short hike. But Troy, in the meantime, where are those tanks?
Well, right now, both the gray and black tanks are sitting at about a third. And our goal is to see if we can run this out for 3 days, and right now we're right on track.
Yeah, because we are about 24 hours in. Right now, I think we're going to go ahead and get dinner started and go for that hike.
Let's go.
Okay, we're going to take a short hike through the woods going to, where are we going?
Carter Falls.
Carter Falls. So sun is about to set, so we'll see how far we get before dark.
We're going to have to run.
Okay, so we got there and back 30 minutes. It's still light out, sun's about to set, so not a big deal. We hustled. If you notice, we did have to leave the stroller behind going down steep embankment, so we were hustling it though, so Desi didn't get to walk. He's too slow.
No,
so
he had to get picked up and go.
Yeah, he holds us back. So, but yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. So here's the look of the falls. We have a 2019 GeoPro FBS, and the specs say 37 gallons, but I believe 6 gallons is the hot water heater, and a gallon is in the lines and that filter, so truly that tank should be 30 gallons. Now, the reason I wanted to test this is I've been reading online across manufacturers where people were saying that sometimes they weren't getting the full capacity of their freshwater tanks. So we bought this off of Amazon. It's called a Save a Drop, and we did test it out in a previous video, but we hooked it up to a hose and filled up that fresh water tank, and we got 30.5 gallons. Now at 30 and a half, a little water came back out, so about a half gallon. So we think that tank truly is 30 gallons. And this little device is going to help us also with test number 3.
So we are into our second morning here, and the gray and the black tanks are both reading pretty steady at 1/3, so far so good. In just a few minutes we're going to run out and do some hiking and get some lunch.
Okay, we are here at Pilot Mountain in North Carolina, and we're going to hike to the top here, show you some views of that. Now, if anybody has ever watched the Andy Griffith Show, this is when they say they're going to Mount Pilot, this is what they mean, because this is where Andy Griffith was from, right? Or lived for a long time.
Lived for a long time, yeah. And it's kind of a fictionalized version. So we're in Pilot Mountain State Park, but when Aunt Bee says they're on their way to Mount Pilot, this is what they're talking about. It is time for the 48-hour update. And we're doing pretty well. 2/3 is what our gray tank is currently. 1/3 is what our black tank is holding.
Okay, we have dumped. We are on the road. So just to give you an update, now we were there almost 3 days. We got there Tuesday afternoon, and this is late on a Friday morning. So where were our tanks? Well, this morning the gray was registering 2/3.
Yeah, but based on the way it dumped, I would say that we were definitely on the upper tier of that 2/3.
Yeah, I think we were really close. Now, the black tank last night was registering 1/3, but this morning was registering full, and I don't think that's truly accurate. If anybody has been doing this for a while, one thing you know is that that black tank, those monitors are not, super accurate sometimes. Paper can get stuck to them, so I don't think it was full.
Not at all. I would have to say that based on what I could determine, I would say it was a touch over 1/3, just a guess.
Yeah, so I think 3 days we can go with these tanks. Yeah. We'll really have to get even more conservative, I think, to do 4 days, but we'll see how it goes in the future. But in the meantime, we're heading home. So we are back home from our trip. That trip was about 6 weeks ago. And that was a no sewer hookup site, although we did have a freshwater hookup. But that trip, and kind of what we were saying on the way home, in the fact that the gray tank was showing still 2/3, but Troy felt that it was really close to full. So that got us thinking, what about running some tests on these tanks and the monitors, and seeing what truly is the intervals that those monitors read at. And that is test number 3 that I'm going to go over right now. Okay, so first of all, Troy is going to join us in a little bit, where we're going to talk about some things that we've looked at online and some tips for conserving water usage and tank usage. But right now he's doing some maintenance on the camper to get ready for that big summer trip. And just wanted to give you a little bit more detail if you are interested. We are going to be trying to do mostly boondocking on this trip, and we're going to try to give you as much information as possible as to where we're finding the places, how we're dumping, where we're getting our fresh water, and things like that. So if you'd like to see those, please remember to hit that subscribe button. Okay, that third test, and that is how these tanks interact with the monitors. So earlier in the video, you saw where we had done the second test, which is to determine how much water was actually in our freshwater tank. Now that was another trip that we took specifically just to do an in-depth look at these tanks. So while Troy was filling up that tank and using that little water saver, I was inside looking at the control panel, and as the light would flicker between the levels, I would yell out to Troy and he would yell back what gallon we were reading when it switched over. So here are the results. At 1 gallon, it went from empty to 1/3. At 11 gallons, it went to 2/3, and at 21 gallons, it went to full. So my range is from 1 to 10 gallons, I could be reading 1/3. So from 11 to 20 gallons, I'm reading 2/3. And then from 21 gallons to 30 gallons, I'm reading full. So that was the fresh water. But how does that correspond to the gray tank? So the gray tank is a 28-gallon capacity. And the way we decided to find out how the monitors work with that is by taking a gallon of water out of the freshwater tank, 1 bucket at a time. So we would take the 1-gallon bucket, and we did try to use it around the camper washing a few things, but any of the water would then get dumped right into that gray tank. And we would just dump 1 gallon at a time until we would see the monitor flicker once again. So here are the results on that gray tank. So about 1.5 gallons, it went from empty to 1/3. At 10 gallons, it went to 2/3. And at 20 gallons, it went to full. So you can see, even though your gray tank may be reading full, you might still have 8 gallons, but I found it's best to err on the side of caution when dealing with the gray tank.
Well, I'm back. Guys, in this trip, we took the fastest showers imaginable using the on-off switch on the retrofit shower wand that we installed. We also only wash dishes once a day, and I think in retrospect we could improve on our water usage and our conservation.
Yep, which brings us to the tips for conserving water. So I've spent some time online just kind of researching and getting some ideas. Now these are just a few, so if you guys have them, please leave them down below. But it led me to ask 2 questions. Other than showers, where do we use the most water, and can we reuse that water? Okay, so dishes really seems to be the next biggest water waster other than showering. So in the future, this is what I'm doing. I'm gonna get 2 wash tubs, put one of them inside the sink, and that's what I'm gonna use to wash my dishes. Then when I'm done, that water is gonna go likely down into the black tank because it does fill up slower. Now I'm gonna have a second bin that I'll leave a little bit of water in to rinse the dishes, and then when I'm done, that rinse water is going to go into the sink in a tub to be my wash water for the next day, and it'll also help the dishes soak during the day.
True. Also, wiping off the dishes before washing them with a paper towel seemed to be a nice way to improve.
Okay, so let's talk cooking. So obviously cooking can use a lot of water. So I think in the future, I'm gonna rely more on that Blackstone and eating fresh foods, which is never a bad thing. And if I'm using the Blackstone, I don't have pans to clean.
But we do have to clean the Blackstone. The way we do it is once we're done cooking, we get it really hot, and then we put water on top of it and use that steam to help lift off all as we clean it up. So we're using water in that function. And another thing I was thinking about is I always buy a couple bags of ice for around the camp because I like to have ice with my drinks throughout the day. In the past, I've always let that melt water kind of drain out of the bottom of the cooler when I pull the plug. But what I'm thinking about doing is repurposing that water, conserving it to use for dishes and for using like cleaning the Blackstone, things like that.
Okay, so lastly is us learning how to turn off the faucet when we're brushing our teeth or washing our hands. It's just a big water waster. So, and also I think all of us have gotten used to using hand sanitizer a bit more in the past year, so we're going to use that, continue to use that when it's appropriate.
You're right. So all good ideas, and guys, keep those comments coming. We'd love to get them. And as always, thanks for watching.